Truth, lies, shenanigans.
Rob B, Canada finally won something. I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, shut up. It's a hockey tournament. Of course we won something.
so, so, all right, but tell us why there's a controversy behind it.
All right. Well, let's start with the tip of the hat to Team Canada for bringing home gold at the World Junior Hockey Championship, and kudos to the U.S. for taking the bronze in the tournament. The win. Sorry.
That was some shade, y'all. He was shading us, y'all. That was some slick
I guess
shade,
you returned my shade, I guess.
It's better than no medal. My God, so much hostility. But the win does come at a time when Hockey Canada, the organization, is under fire, and with just cause. This particular controversy started in May when Hockey Canada reached a settlement with a young woman who alleged that she was sexually assaulted in 2018 by 8 Canada Hockey League players, including members of the World Junior team. So Hockey Canada CFO Brian Carroll told our ministers of parliament that the organization settled the lawsuit because it was the right thing to do for the complainant and for the organization. The young woman claimed damages to the tune of $3.5 million in her statement, and Hockey Canada's board of directors approved the maximum amount of the settlement, and the settlement offer was made and accepted. So as part of the settlement, of course, she had to sign an NDA, which really curtails her ability to speak about the incident. When I was doing a little bit of homework, I did discover that since 1989, Hockey Canada has paid out $8.9 million to 21 complainants, not including this latest settlement for the 2018 incident. So Hockey Canada told ministers of parliament that they took 7.6 million out of their national equity fund. And the reason why this is significant is that the national equity fund is funded in part by minor hockey league registration fees. So, right? I mean, I'm paying for my kid to play hockey and you're paying off sexual assault complainants. Wow. Not cool, man. So as a result, major sponsors like Tim Hortons and Canadian Tire have removed their sponsorship. So they're really getting
Tim Hortons
hard.
is like what, Starbucks? What's Tim Hortons is like a coffee place, right?
Dunkin' yeah.
Tim Hortons is a coffee place. It is the coffee franchise of Canada, and I guess Starbucks would be the next one. But,
the next one.
But it's more like Dunkin' Donuts. More like Dunkin' Donuts.
I would have to visit a Dunkin's to properly assess that, because there are Dunkin's.
You guys don't have Dunkin's?
Well, we've had them come and go because, well, they just can't compete against a Timmy's.
Tim Hortons.
But I was wondering if I could get you to share your thoughts about the 2018 sexual assault case, and what steps do you feel should be taken to reform sports organizations that protect sexual assailants?
Let's start with Liz. Let's start with Johnny last time.
Hire women. All women.
All women. Oh, dang.
All women across the board, across the executive board. No, there has to be more checks. Really,
checks and
there
balances.
Has to be more checks and balances, and people who are involved in overseeing that are not a part of Hockey Canada, that are not a part of USA Hockey, or whatever, U.S. or sports organization governing by. There has to be an outside entity that is looking into this, that has no, nothing invested into the outcome. And that's why you're seeing a lot of these, minute payoffs, these NDAs, this hush hush money under the table. Is because everyone involved, everyone who's overseeing, everyone who's investigating, who's doing the interviewing, they have a stake in the outcome. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to lose their job, or they don't want their hockey team or hockey player to go down. You need an outside organization to come in and overhaul and oversee all of this. And it's not just Hockey Canada. It's not just USA Canada. It's FIFA, it's the IOC, it's the NFL, MLB, NBA, all NHL, all of it. Yeah. All of it. There needs to be someone on the outside who is neutral that can come in and oversee these cases. And unfortunately, this is the norm. This isn't some fluke situation, some case that, is an anomaly or what have you. This is the norm when it comes to sports, women in sports. Also, there are a lot of men that get abused in sports. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so there's just a lot of sexual abuse in sports, violence in sports that gets shifted, thrown under the rug, and no one does anything about it until it hits the headlines. And then you throw some people some money here and there and expect it to go away, put a band-aid on it. So we need some type of movement where we have a different governing body that comes in and says, look, I have no, stake in this. But I am going to be an unbiased, impartial party. I'm going to come in, look at the case, and figure out what happened. I mean, we've seen situations like this, happen recently in the NHL. With a very prominent Blackhawks player, come out and say he was sexually abused. And then it went back to, turns out the coach knew, turns out the GM of the team knew. Like it was a long paper trail of people who knew what was going on. And the guy that abused him wasn't even a coach, he was a trainer on the team.
Did you know about that, Rob?
He had a history of abusing, but it happens so often. It happens
so often, Neo.
It could have been.
It's like the Boy Scouts or the Catholic
like
Church.
a story on the back page.
Yeah.
Like even the gymnastics thing with the gymnastics girls, and they said,
the gymnasts.
And the sad thing about that is how long it went on, how far-reaching it was, because we weren't just talking about it. The only reason why we really kind of heard about it was because there were Olympic gymnasts involved. But the majority of the victims were college and high school gymnasts who were abused by this one doctor. And so it just goes on and on. And let me just say this, Jim Jordan, a part of Congress, before that case at Michigan State, there was a case with the male athletes at Ohio State University who came out and said that their coach was sexually abusing them. And they told then Ohio State faculty member Jim Jordan about it, and he did nothing. This guy he's a senator. He's a member of Congress right now, but he did nothing. And so it happens so often. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It reminds me of the Washington Commanders right now, and Daniel Snyder and his culture, his toxic culture in the locker rooms and office. And the NFL was basically like, chalk it up to boys will be boys, basically. And it's good to see.
And it's been going on with the Washington team for decades.
Boys will be boys applies to when I fall out of the tree and crack my head open. It doesn't apply to misogyny and culture.
It definitely shouldn't. But it has been. No. It has been. I mean, I remember that rape case where the guy was caught red-handed and basically let off because boys will be boys, basically. I mean, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Jenny?
It's very.
This whole thing is systemic, as Liz was pointing out. All of like the sports executives, the GMs, the trainers, the coaches, they all made like a decision to not speak out about whatever sexual assault and to hide things and to just basically keep it on the low. So abuse in sports can continue to happen. So I think, Rob, to answer your question, first we need accountability. And in a sense, we're doing that now, but I just feel like it is overt. It's like a lot of people are speaking out about it, but it starts with accountability and then replace that with some type of like safe space, safe environment, so that the details of how these things happen could even, like, for example, if you're speaking out about something that happened to you to a counselor, you're likely to get more details about how that could have happened to somebody else or how that could happen to somebody else, so that you can correct or reform that whole entire thing. Like maybe there doesn't need to be certain coaches or certain trainers. Maybe there's only, like Liz said, all female trainers or all female staff and faculty. But it just needs real dissecting. Like people really need to get in there, and a third party really needs to get in there and start just helping these people, because it's like sports is supposed to be entertainment, and now it's just this disgusting, like, it's the same thing with religion, not to go off topic, but it's just like, it's just weird. Like all of these things.
Talk about the Catholic priests.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's not just Catholicism, though. You know, there
Oh,
are a
that's true.
lot of Baptist
That's very
ministers
true.
up there,
Yeah.
you know, acting a fool,
That's true.
touching folks they shouldn't be touching. And let me just say, you know, when I said, you know, women, I kind of said that in jest because let's be real, there are some women out there who are abusers, you know,
Yeah.
or
You
if
must
they're
you
not
must have read Jacqueline Robinson's comment.
no, I haven't read it, but
Oh.
I can feel. I know my sister. I can feel, you know, her getting incensed. But there are women out there. If they're not actually the physical abusers, they are enablers. They are allowing it to happen. It's just really sad, you know, what humans will do for the almighty dollar, and that's what this boils down to. You know, that's why people, you know, overlook things, turn the other cheek, not report, you know, certain incidents or whatever, because they're getting paid not to. And even for the victim, you can't fault a victim for signing an NDA. For those who don't know, non-disclosure agreement, signing an NDA for $3 million, because for her, that probably was closure. For her, that probably was
and she
some
probably couldn't
level
get
of
much more than that because she wasn't going to
exactly, and
get criminal charges, so she took what
some
she could
level
get.
of accountability. Exactly. And hopefully it brought her some peace because a lot of victims don't get that. Woo! This
That's true.
All right, real quick while she's fixing her camera. So Jacqueline Robinson, just to point out her comment. Actually, let me go to Mike Winter first. He says, this is one of many problems of not having regulations and oversight. Capitalism is not self-regulating. And then Jacqueline Robinson says, Rob, you're asking the wrong people. The owners of DC's football team are complicit in this type of behavior. In fact, Dan Snyder turned the team over to his equally vile wife. So which was no change there. It's putting lipstick on a pig, literally. So Robbie, what are your final thoughts on this?
I really like the conversation. It is systemic, and there needs to be an overhaul at very top levels throughout the old boys club. And I think that perhaps a national organization, third party, neutral, that can work with any given sports association might be a step in the right direction, just to make access to reporting and to help a little bit more accessible.
And Paulette Bertrand says, yes, Gianni, religious institutions as well. All right. Is this truth, lies, or shenanigans? Y'all remember what?
Eddie Long. Eddie Long, he wasn't Catholic. Eddie Long was the black minister who was sexing all of his male parishioners and all that foolish.
Yeah, it's not just the Catholic.
Lies, shenanigans.
No.